weather won't be good that day to travel. And I just said, we are going to arrange the weather issues and my friends will do that. And they were like, which friends would arrange the weather? It was funny because I was not supposed to lie. I was supposed to say everything that was happening. And I said, well, we have this kind of weird organization that we work in different dimensions, so they would take care of it. And that day was perfect. The thing was that the last key was supposed to be brought to Antarctica, and the guy that made the keys hid the main key from me, like a kind of golem that got in love with the first key that he made. And he said that he didn't make any other, but the first one that was supposed to go in Antarctica, he hid it in the mountains. So I had to go to the mountains with him and convince him to come to Antarctica with me to bring that key. I convinced him, but he lost the flight. So somehow we accomplished to find a pilot that just flew with the key and took the key to the last city of the world just to give it to me so I could go to Antarctica to bring that to open the portal. So we flew to Antarctica the next day, in the early morning, December 21st, and we had only 2 hours to decide what to do and where to go. So we ran fast and we did all this connection in between the penguins, and we seed the key in the waters of Antarctica to open the portal that day. And we ran back to the plane, and when we were trying to take off, the plane broke and we almost fell in the sea of the Antarctica Sea. The pilot managed to stop the airplane, and he said, let's try again. So he tried again, and it couldn't. So he said, we need to stay. So we stayed for 2 days more in Antarctica, sleeping there with the scientists, and we were able to receive the messages of the next step that we had to give. And the message that we received was that in February 2013, there would be a lightning turning the key of the north towards the south. And that lightning will tell us that the power from the south will go to the north and would be the sign to turn the biggest key of the world. I was given the keys along the Harrington path, and by the message they said there is a bigger key, the biggest key of the whole planet, that when that turns from north to south, giving the power to the people from the south, every key of the world will start to change, to turn, opening the heavens into earth. So you have to be there to balance that opening in 2014. We had no idea of what they were speaking about, but in February we saw the lightning coming from the skies to the biggest key, and that big key is the Vatican. And that lightning was the day when the Pope quit. And 1 month later, an Argentinian Pope was elected. So the south went to the north, to the biggest key. So that was the beginning of the next adventure, that was to help to turn the key and to change the energy of Rome. Something that we learned during the Harrington was that every temple in the world is like a key. Every temple that a human goes and put faith on it is like a portal in between the consciousness of heaven and the consciousness of earth. So even if religion doesn't really matter for the universe, the aspects and the codes that it had are important. This is why we believed in that time that by opening the portals in those temples, in those natural places, we would be able to spread the consciousness in a faster way than going people to people. So this was the message of going to the Vatican. The Vatican is the biggest key. It was built by Bernini, given the shape of a key, the key of heavens, of St. Peter. Even if I am not Catholic, I am not Christian, and even if I'm not following any religion, there's something that we cannot deny, and is that Christianity reached the whole world. Every continent has a church, every town has a church, and they even build the church and the churches and the cathedrals over the sacred places of every culture in the past. So this means that these churches and cathedrals are like the portals of not only their own religion, but the portals of every faith in the past. If the Vatican changes its vibration and opens the portal in between the dimensions, so like changing the main core of the system, all the rest of the churches would be also turning and opening a new network. So what they said was, you have to do exactly the opposite to what the church did. The religion of Christianity put all the country together, all the empire together under one only God, and having many gods, so many governments. So Rome created the system. Even our law system, our government system was coming from Rome, and from there it spread to the whole world. So that's why we turn the word Rome, which in Spanish is amor, and means love. So Roma Amor would be the next step of the Harwooden path, to opening every portal in the planet just by turning one. This happened by creating a big network of people in America, bringing the energy towards Spain and Portugal, and from Spain and Portugal going to Italy, and from Italy to Rome, and from Rome to the Vatican. Exactly the opposite path that Rome took to the whole world, we did it backwards, like a reflection, like a mirror. One of the things was not criticize the church, not to go against the church like they did against all the people that thought different. So what we had to do was to bring love and bring this energy of change. We just wanted to share with the Vatican the idea of we all are one in this world, and we all have to transcend. We should not be always the same, and we are here asking you to go with us in this change. The funny thing of this story was that I went to Spain, and I was supposed to raise money to go to the Vatican and to make all this trip by myself, but sadly a lot of people were willing to join the trip and following the trip and helping me to get to all these places. And my guides told me, you have to go to Rome to wait for a call in a specific square. You have to go to Piazza del Popolo and wait there for the calling. And so I took a flight to Rome and just sat there every day for 3 days waiting a call that I had no idea what it was. So I put a picture in Instagram saying, I'm here waiting for the call of the Pope, as a joke. And suddenly someone that was in a spiritual trip in Scotland, they saw the picture and shared it with the people in the bus. And one woman from the bus said, I am a friend from the secretary of the Pope. We went to school together. Maybe I can give him the number. So a few hours later, with no idea about anything of this, I received the calling of the secretary of the Pope that told me, what do you want? And I said, I don't know, you called me. And I said, so, okay, come to the office and explain me what you want. So I went to the Vatican and explained all this story about all my guides telling me to come, to turn the keys and do this work of Rome to love. And they just told me, sure, you are free to come and to do your meditations in St. Peter's Square. A month later, we came 400 people, and we started to do the meditations in a beautiful day. And we started to make all this turning of energy in St. Peter's Square. And suddenly, like in every gathering I did, the storm came, and these big lightnings were falling, and we were the only ones in the streets, 400 crazy people doing meditations under the storm and all these lightnings, and barefoot in the water, and nobody was there. The storm was so big that it was even in the news, because it was a big storm. Suddenly, my guide said, the portal is going to be open, so you have all to go in the middle of the square. So we all went there, and suddenly from all these lightnings coming, there was one that just hit the Vatican and the cupola. The energy vibrates so much that all the windows started to vibrate and made this noise. Suddenly the sun rises behind the Vatican, and two big rainbows open in the door of the Vatican. The rainbows are like the portals in between all the dimensions because of the light and every perspective of the light. So these two big rainbows opening the portal of the Vatican, and the lightnings and the sun, and suddenly we were like all dancing and celebrating like in the 11/11. It was like the closing of the process from the 11/11 to turning this energy. Because of this, the secretary called me, and they said, we saw everything that happened through the window, so you are invited to come in 2 days to give this message to the Pope, whatever you want to give. So I just brought a box with all the messages of everything that we have done, all the story that we have lived, and the stories that we are willing to open in the future, and that we have to be all together in order to do so. So we tried to heal the history of the religion so we could follow the next teachings of the Christ, that was the concept of the I am. So at the end of the Harvington path, at the end of Roma More path, we knew somehow that the next step would be to work with the I am.